giving me the opportunity to share my knowledge on this particular topic. So here I'm going to start with my topic. So firstly, I'll be talking about the introduction. So it applies only to Hindus, and definition of Hindu according to the Act. You all know who are Hindus. So basically, I just want to include one point. Uh, Except the Christian, Muslim, Parsis, and Jews, all other people, the people who do not follow the Christian community, Muslim community, the Parsi community, the Jew community, are can be called as a Hindu. Uh, there is provided that they do not follow any other act or the rule, provided that they do not follow any other act or rule. So I'll be starting with adoption. So as we can see, the adoption. What is adoption? I'll be starting it is stated in the Manusmriti. It is defined as taking someone else's son and raising him as your own son. But this definition was restricted to adopting a male child only, and hence the act widened the scope and included the girl child as well. The adoption law served to provide a proper procedure for adoption of a child, without which any adoption made would be termed void ab initio. That means void from the very initial, and any adoption will be termed as valid as per the Hindu law only if this procedure is followed. So I'll be discussing about the eligibility. So eligibility of a male to adopt a child. So eligibility of a male is, firstly, he should attain majority. That means he should be of a major age, means greater than 18 years of age, 18 or 18 year above 18 years of age. Secondly, must have a wife who is alive and her consent is necessary. That means कि उसकी वाइफ को लिविंग होना, उसका लिविंग होना बहुत जरूरी है, उसकी वाइफ का, और साथ ही साथ वाइफ का कंसेंट होना बहुत जरूरी है. Third point, it can be overlooked if the wife is incapable of giving the consent due to insanity or other reasons. यहाँ पे एक कंडीशन आती है कि जहां पे वाइफ का कंसर्न जरूरी नहीं है, वो केसेस है जहां पे वाइफ या तो अनसाउंड हो या शी हैज रेनाउंस्ड द वर्ल्ड, एंड थर्डली जहां पे शी इज डेड. तो वो तीन केसेस ऐसे हैं जहां पे वाइफ का कंसर्न नेसेसरी नहीं है एक मेल के लिए एक बेबी को अडॉप्ट करने के लिए. फोर्थ पॉइंट, इफ अ पर्सन हैज मल्टीपल वाइफ, अगर किसी पर्सन की बहुत सारी वाइफ है, मल्टीपल वाइफ है, then consent of all the wife is necessary for adoption. That means each and every wife concerned matters for a child to be adopted. Then he should be of a sound mind. The person, the male who is adopting a child, he should be of a sound mind. That means he should not be insane. He should be a sane while adopting a child. Now we are talking, moving on towards the next part, that is eligibility of a female to adopt. So this is given under section 8. Again, the same conditions is for the female also, that she should also be a major, she should be of sound mind, and a female can be either a widow or a divorcee or unmarried. Then, if a Hindu woman whose husband is alive, she doesn't have the right to adopt a child, as it would be adopted under the husband's name with the wife consent. Then, moving to the next part, who can give a child for adoption? So, adoption के लिए कौन दे सकता है? तो यहाँ पे parents दे सकते हैं और guardian दे सकते हैं. When we talk about parents, then only biological parents, biological father and mother, can only give their child for adoption. That means no adoptive parents can give their child for adoption. Am I clear with this? Then moving on to the next part. As I already told you, that only biological father and mother can give their child, and the guardian appointed by the parents or the court can give the child for adoption. Then moving to the next part, only the in case of a guardian, the child can be given for the adoption. Only the child's biological parents are dead and have renounced the world, or of they are of unsound mind, or they have abandoned the child. Secondly, the guardian is described as a person who is appointed by parents of a child or taking care of the child and his or her property. But before giving up a child for adoption, a guardian must take the permission of the court for doing so. Such a permission is granted only when the court is satisfied that first, the adoption is for the welfare of the child, and secondly, there is no payment has been made in any form in the exchange for the child. Moving to the next part, that is validity of an adoption. So when an adoption is valid, So as per Hindu law, only a Hindu can adopt a child. As per Hindu law, only a Hindu can adopt a child, and this must be done in accordance with the essentials prescribed in Section 6 of the Act. Firstly, the adoptive parent or parents have the capacity and the rights to adopt. Secondly, the person or the persons giving up the child for adoption has the capacity to do so. Third, the person being adopted has the capacity to be taken in adoption. And fourth, the adoption is made in compliance with the Act. Moving to the next part, what are the eligibility criteria? So I'll be discussing the necessary conditions. Firstly, for adoption of a son. So I'll not be dealing with these sections. So it states that if a Hindu male or female desires to adopt a son, they must not have a living son, grandson, or even a great grandson at the time of adoption. And secondly, it provided that it is irrelevant whether the son is legitimate or adopted. I'll make this point very clear here, over here कि अगर कोई भी माता पिता या कोई भी हस्बैंड वाइफ एक बच्चे को अडॉप्ट करना चाहते हैं तो उनका पहले से कोई बेटा नहीं होना चाहिए, बेटे का बेटा नहीं होना चाहिए, और बेटे का बेटा भी नहीं होना चाहिए, लिविंग नहीं होना चाहिए, चाहे वो लेजिटिमेट हो चाहे वो अडॉप्टिव हो. ठीक है, you should not already have a son who is living. Now we are moving to the second point, that is adopting a daughter. So similar conditions for adopting, there's a similar conditions for the daughter also, and it states that one wishing to adopt a daughter must not have a living daughter or granddaughter from their son at the time of adoption. यहाँ पे थोड़ा सा डिफरेंस ये है कि यहाँ पे जब हम बात करते हैं, जब कोई भी माता पिता किसी गर्ल चाइल्ड को अडॉप्ट करते हैं तो वहां पे ये चीज देखी जाती है कि उन माता पिता की खुद की कोई डॉटर नहीं होनी चाहिए और ना ही उनकी कोई ग्रैंड डॉटर यानी उनके बेटे से कोई बेटी नहीं होनी चाहिए, यानी उनकी ग्रैंड डॉटर भी प्रेजेंट नहीं होनी चाहिए, लाइव नहीं होनी चाहिए at the time of the adoption of that particular girl child. It is immaterial whether the daughter or the granddaughter is legitimate or adoptive. Moving to the next point, that is adoption of a female child by a male. Adoption of a female child by a male. A Hindu male willing to adopt a girl child must have the capacity to adopt a child as prescribed in Section 7 of the Act, and Section 11, subclause 3 state that he must have at least 21 years older than the girl that is to be adopted. That means कि if a male want to adopt a child and the girl child, then he must have a age difference of 21 years or more. Moving to the next point, that is adoption of a male child by a female. So let's suppose if a female wants to adopt a male child, then she has to also meet the age difference requirement, that is 21 years older requirement she has to meet. And again, for this we have to refer the section number 8 of the Act. According to section number 8 of the Act, it states that if a female that is a unmarried woman, or we talk about a widow or a divorcee, if she wants to adopt a child, then if she want to adopt a son to herself in her own right, provided that she has no Hindu daughter or son's daughter living at the time of adoption. यानी अगर किसी फीमेल हिंदू को जो अनमैरिड है या विडो है या डाइवर्सी है, उसको अगर कोई सन अडॉप्ट करना है, बेटा अडॉप्ट करना है अपने राइट पे, तो उसका कोई भी उसकी कोई भी बेटी नहीं होनी चाहिए या उसके कोई भी ग्रैंड डॉटर नहीं होनी चाहिए, जो उसके बेटे से उसकी बेटी नहीं होनी चाहिए, यानी ग्रैंड डॉटर भी प्रेजेंट नहीं होनी चाहिए, लिविंग नहीं होनी चाहिए जब वो किसी बेटे को गोद ले रही है. ओके, मूविंग टू दी अदर कंडीशंस. अदर कंडीशंस में नो मल्टीपल अडॉप्शन ऑफ वन चाइल्ड, यानी बच्चे का एक ही बार अडॉप्शन हो सकता है, उसका बार बार अडॉप्शन नहीं हो सकता है. सेकेंडली, देयर शुड बी इंटेंशन टू ट्रांसफर. जो पेरेंट्स अपने बच्चे को अडॉप्शन के लिए दे रहे हैं, उनका इंटेंशन होना चाहिए कि वो अडॉप्शन के लिए ही उसे वो करें, कोई अदर रीजन नहीं होना चाहिए उनका. थर्डली, इन केस ऑफ अबंडेंट चाइल्ड, जहां पे बच्चे को पेरेंट्स माँ बाप ने छोड़ दिया है, तो उस केस में भी बच्चे का इन केस ऑफ अबंडेंट चाइल्ड, वहां पे भी बच्चे का अडॉप्शन के लिए हम दे सकते हैं. देन इफेक्ट्स ऑफ अडॉप्शन. We are moving on the next part, that is what are the effects of adoption. So when a child has been adopted First, they shall be considered as a child of their adoptive parents for all the purposes. Secondly, the adoptive parent shall have all the parental obligations and rights. And third, the child shall have all the rights and obligations of a son or a daughter. However, there are some conditions that a child must abide by after he has been adopted, such as first, यहाँ पे हम उन कंडीशंस की बात करेंगे जो ये कंडीशंस किसके लिए ये कंडीशंस उस बच्चे के लिए है जो बच्चा अडॉप्ट हो रहा है. First, he or she must not have a incestuous relationship with anyone from their biological family. ठीक है. So incestuous relationship means कोई भी ऐसा illegitimate या कोई ऐसा relationship नहीं होना चाहिए उस बच्चे का adopted बच्चे का अपनी birth family में किसी भी member से, and should not marry anyone from their birth family. और साथ ही जो बच्चा adopt हुआ है वो अपने birth family में किसी से marriage नहीं कर सकता है. So, the rules of Hindu Marriage Act 1955 regarding the Sapindar relation shall be applicable to them towards their birth family. Second, if a child had any property before the adoption, it shall continue to be there in their possession after also. यानी अगर बच्चे की कोई प्रॉपर्टी है अडॉप्शन के पहले तो वो कंटिन्यू उसकी प्रॉपर्टी बनी रहेगी आफ्टर he has been adopted, he or she has been adopted. However, such property may bring some obligations over him, and he shall be liable to all those obligations, including having to maintain his biological family if required. Third, the adopted child shall not deprive any member of his birth family of any property that he held before the adoption. It is important for adoption to be valid to have any effect at all. Then we are moving to the next heading, that is, can a valid adoption be cancelled? A valid adoption cannot be cancelled. When a person has opted for adoption and it has been validly made, there is no way that they can cancel the adoption. Section 15 of the Act clearly states that neither the parents can cancel a valid adoption and nor the child has any right to renounce their adoption and return to their biological family. Next, once a valid adoption, there is no going back. It is final. Now, before coming to maintenance, I would also like to put some light on the prohibition of payments. So, prohibition of payments with increasing child trafficking around the world, the prohibition of payments during an adoption is one of the most important rules in order to ensure that child is not being sold. It is stated in section 17 of the Act that no payment can be received or made during an adoption by anyone. No one shall receive any reward in monetary or non-monetary ways for adopting a child or giving them up for adoption. If one is caught, listen everyone, if one is caught making a receiving payment in any form during the process of adoption, they shall be liable for imprisonment for up to 6 months or fine or both. Now, I will be moving to the next heading of my presentation, that is maintenance. So here, what is maintenance? Maintenance has been described in the definition clause of the Act as something that can provide for food, clothing, shelter, education, and medical expenses. Basically, it is financial support paid by husband or a father that covers all basic necessities of life. The section also says that if the maintenance is to be provided to an unmarried daughter, it shall also cover all the reasonable expenses required in her day-to-day life till the day she gets married. Moving to the next topic, next heading, that is maintenance of wife. Maintenance of wife, the wife must be paid maintenance after divorce until she gets remarried again. The idea behind this is that to let her live with her lifestyle and comfort that existed during her marriage, and it must be paid until she gets remarried. Next, there is no minimum or maximum amount fixed for maintenance. It is to be decided by the court according to the earning capacity of the husband. If the husband is well-to-do, then the maintenance shall be high in order to match the rich lifestyle the wife was used to during the marriage. If that is not the case, it must be a reasonable enough amount that can cover all her reasonable expenses. Then maintenance of widowed. widowed daughter-in-law, maintenance of widowed daughter-in-law. So when a wife is entitled, okay, I'll be talking key where entitlement of maintenance. I talked about the points key when wife is entitled to maintenance. So here I'll be moving with the section number 18, section 2. The wife is entitled to maintenance when the husband has deserted his wife by abandoning her without any reasonable cause and without seeking her consent or deliberately ignoring her wish. Second point, जहाँ पे wife entitled है maintenance के लिए, the wife has been subject to cruelty during her marriage and considers living with her husband to be endangering her life. Next point, if the husband is suffering from an incurable and contagious disease. Next, the husband has another wife or a mistress in the same house, or he lives with another wife or mistress at some other place. यहाँ पे हम अनदर वाइफ को हम सेकंड वाइफ भी बोल सकते हैं, या हम कोई ऐसी वाइफ भी बोल सकते, कोई ऐसा भी पर्सन बोल सकते हैं जिसको वाइफ का टाइटल नहीं मिल सकता. The husband has converted to some other religion or some other reasonable grounds that can justify why the wife should live separately. Moving to the next part, I'll be talking about maintenance. So maintenance can be paid in every month also or in a lump sum also. Even when the wife has some source of income and some property, but needs some financial aid for necessary expenses such as medical expenses, it is the obligation of the husband to pay the maintenance for such expenses if required. Now I'll be talking about the point where the wife is not entitled for maintenance, or when maintenance is not to be paid to a wife. So this is dealt under section 18, subsection 3. If a Hindu wife has committed adultery or has any other illicit sexual relationship with anyone else, she shall not be entitled to maintenance. Also, if she no longer remains a Hindu and gets converted to some other religion that does not fall under the spectrum of Hinduism. So these are the basically two main headings, or two main things, important things, which prohibits wife for maintenance. Then we will talking about maintenance of a widowed daughter-in-law. A husband is liable to pay maintenance to his wife after they get divorced. However, if the husband is dead, it is the obligation of his father to pay the maintenance to his daughter-in-law. यानी अगर किसी के बेटे की डेथ हो जाती है, तो यानी जो फादर है, लड़के का फादर है, उसकी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी बनती है कि वो अपनी डॉटर इन लॉ यानी वो अपनी बहू को मेंटेनेंस प्रोवाइड करे. So this is dealt under section 19 of the HAMA, that is Hindu Adoption and Maintenance. But the father-in-law shall only be liable to pay maintenance if father-in-law तभी liable होंगे maintenance के जब ये conditions fulfill होंगी. So पहली condition क्या है कि his daughter-in-law has no source of income. Second condition, she has no property to sustain herself on her own. And third condition, if she has some property, it is insufficient to meet her basic expenses. यानी थर्ड कंडीशन ये कहती है कि डॉटर इन लॉ के पास प्रॉपर्टी तो है, बट वो प्रॉपर्टी सफिशिएंट नहीं है उसके बेसिक एक्सपेंसेस को मीट आउट करने में, तो भी उसके फादर इन लॉ को उसका मेंटेनेंस का खर्चा उठाना पड़ेगा. In case she has no property of her own and any property of her husband, parents or children are not fetching her any maintenance. ठीक है. फोर्थ कंडीशन ये है कि जहां पे उसके पास कोई प्रॉपर्टी भी नहीं है और उसके जो उसके बच्चे हैं वो भी उसको मेंटेनेंस नहीं दे पा रहे हैं, तो भी ऑब्लिगेशन लाई करता है फादर इन लॉ को उस बहू के यानी उस डॉटर इन लॉ के फादर इन लॉ के पे लाई करता है कि वो उसे मेंटेनेंस प्रोवाइड करे. Now I'll be talking about the next topic, that is maintenance of children and aged parents. People who cannot earn money for themselves due to reasonable grounds need to be given maintenance in order to meet their basic necessities. Such people can include children and old people. Section 20 of the Act states that a Hindu male or female is obligated to maintain their children, whether they are legitimate or illegitimate. Second, children shall claim for maintenance from their parents as long as they are minor. Third, an unmarried daughter shall be entitled to maintenance even after attaining the age of majority till the day she gets remarried. The section further prescribes that parents who are old or have physical or mental weakness, or physical or mental weakness can be termed as infirm term, can be infirm, then need to be maintained if they are not able to maintain themselves. Third, the condition is that a childless stepmother will also be considered as parent in the context of this section. Then maintenance of dependence, next heading, dependence of a deceased must be maintained if they do not have the capacity to do so by themselves. It is defined under section 21, and section 22 states that such person shall be entitled to maintenance. So as we all know, we have studied who are dependents. So dependent is someone who relies on parent, brother, or some other relative for sustaining themselves. So as per section 21, dependent is the people who are included in the dependent are is a father, a mother, a widow who has not remarried, a minor son, grandson, or a great grandson with predeceased father and grandfather, provided that he has not been able to obtain maintenance from any other source. Then unmarried daughter, granddaughter, or great granddaughter with predeceased father and grandfather, provided she has not been able to obtain maintenance from any other source. A widowed daughter who has not been able to obtain maintenance from the estate of her husband, children, or from her in-laws. Widowed daughter-in-law or widowed granddaughter-in-law who has not been able to obtain maintenance from any other source, and an illegitimate minor son or illegitimate unmarried daughter. Do dependents need to be maintained? Now that we have already seen that the dependents are, who dependents are and why they need maintenance, let us proceed further and see how to maintain them and who's obliged to maintain them. So it is defined under section 22. The dependent of the deceased Hindus must be maintained by his heirs with the aid of the state that they inherited from the deceased. When the dependents have not been left with any share in the property or the state by the way of will or succession, they are still entitled to maintain by whoever takes over the state. I'll moving to the amount of maintenance. There is no fixed amount for maintenance that shall be paid. It is at the direct discretion of the court to determine the amount of maintenance. So it is defined basically under the section number 23 of the Act that while deciding the amount of maintenance to be awarded to a wife, children, or old and infirm parents, the court must do the considering. The court must do all the things to decide the amount of maintenance after considering these points. Firstly, the status of parties and their current position, the claims of the parties within reasonable limits, if the claimant living separately having justified grounds in doing so, then all sources of income of the claimant and the value of their property and the number of people that are entitled to be maintained. Then section 23 further simplifies the process of deciding the amount of maintenance payable to other dependents. It says that the amount of payment to be made should be with regard to the following condition. Firstly, the net value of the deceased property after clearing all his debts. Will of the deceased, if any. Then the degree of relationship between the claimant and the deceased and their past relationship. Then what the dependents want within reasonable limits. Next condition, all sources of income of the dependent and the total value of all their properties. And next third condition, the number of dependents that can be entitled to maintenance. There can also be the alteration in the amount of maintenance depending upon the circumstances. Then claimant should be a Hindu. Okay, so the next very condition for getting a maintenance is that the person who wants the maintenance should be a Hindu. So as per the Hindu Adoption and Maintenance Act, has been legislated for the Hindus and has a power and authority to govern only people that belong to the Hindu religion. If any of the party is not a Hindu or has ceased to be the one, they cannot claim maintenance as per this act. So here the section 24 act says that no one will be entitled to claim maintenance under the Hindu Adoption and Maintenance Act if they have ceased to be a Hindu by converting themselves to some other religion. यानी आप जब तक हिंदू हैं तभी तक आप मेंटेनेंस क्लेम कर सकते हैं, लेकिन जिस दिन आप कन्वर्ट हो जाएंगे किसी अनदर रिलीजन में, आपके पास कोई राइट नहीं है मेंटेनेंस का. कैन अ मेंटेनेंस बी अ चार्ज? So we'll talking कि क्या maintenance कोई charge हो सकता है. So the Hindu Adoption and Maintenance Act has no per the definition of charge. However, we can refer to Section 100 of the Transfer of Property Act 1882, wherein the charge has been defined as, firstly, making movable property security for payment of money to a person. Such transaction will not be considered as mortgage, but will be said to have a charge on the property. Section 27 of the Hindu Adoption Maintenance Act states that a dependent's claim for maintenance must not be a charge on the deceased state unless otherwise provided in a will of the deceased or an agreement between the deceased and the dependents. Debts to have priority, यानी अगर किसी पर्सन का लाइक फॉर सपोज कोई डिसीज पर्सन है तो उसकी जितनी भी प्रॉपर्टी है उस प्रॉपर्टी में से जो भी उसके डेब्ट्स हैं वो डेब्ट्स पे किए जाएंगे, उसके बाद जो उसके लीगल हायर्स हैं वो एलिजिबल है मेंटेनेंस के लिए बचे हुए प्रॉपर्टी में से. देन we are moving to the next topic, that is effects of transfer of property on right to maintenance. A dependent who is entitled to receive maintenance from the property or an estate and very estate gets transferred, it becomes obligation of the transferee to maintain the dependent if the transferee has received a notice regarding the right or if the transfer is without any reasonable grounds. So here I can include a point, आई कैन इंक्लूड माई ओपिनियन कि यहाँ पे अगर कोई प्रॉपर्टी कोई ट्रांसफर हो जाती है, कोई डिसीज पर्सन अपनी प्रॉपर्टी को विलफुली या ग्रेचुअसली किसी को ट्रांसफर कर देता है, तो उसके डेथ के बाद उसके जो लीगल हायर्स हैं उसके लीगल हायर्स को राइट है कि वो उस शेयर जो प्रॉपर्टी ट्रांसफर हुई है उससे वो मेंटेनेंस क्लेम कर सके, लेकिन प्रोवाइडेड ये है कि जो ट्रांसफर हुआ है, जिस पर्सन को ट्रांसफर हुआ है उसको भी इस चीज का नॉलेज है कि ये सो एंड सो इनके लीगल हायर्स हैं. अगर वो अननोइंगली उसको मतलब उसको अगर कोई नॉलेज नहीं है डिसीज पर्सन के लीगल हायर्स के बारे में तो उसके ऊपर कोई ऑब्लिगेशन नहीं उठेगी मेंटेनेंस के लिए. Now I'll be dealing with the case laws. So the first case law is in the Bhola and others versus Ramlal and others. So in Bhola and others versus Ramlal and others, the plaintiff had two wives and the validity of adoption was in question as he had not taken the consent of one of his wives before adopting. So it was the contention of the plaintiff that his wife has absconded and could be considered as a good as deed. So it was held that the High Court of the Madras observed that the wife of the plaintiff had run away but could not be considered dead unless she had not been heard for at least 7 years. It was held that as long as the wife are alive, the consent of each wife is necessary for a valid adoption. If a wife has converted to some other religion or renounced the world, her consent is not necessary for adoption. But the existence of a living wife is an for a Hindu male to adopt a children. Next case law, Srimati Anita Thakural versus Shri Satbir Singh Thakural. In the aforementioned case, the wife had some source of income and also had an apartment in a good location, but she was unable to make enough money to cover up her medical expenses. So in this case, the court held that the wife will use one of the debit card of the husband, and secondly, with the undertaking that she will only withdraw a reasonable amount as may be necessary for her medical expenses. Moving to the third case, in the case of Abhayola M. Shubha Reddy versus Padmana, in this case, the defendant had two living wives. The second wife was claiming maintenance, and a bigamous marriage is illegal under Hindu law. So the validity of the marriage of the defendant with his second wife was in question. So in this case, the court held that the court of Andhra Pradesh held that if a man has two wives, the marriage with the second wife will be void ab initio. That means void from the very beginning, as the Hindu law prohibits bigamous marriage and the parties never actually become husband and wife. Therefore, the second wife will have no entitlement to any kind of maintenance as the marriage is void ab initio. The moving to not least the fourth case, in the case of Mistress Samubai and ANR versus Shaji Maganlal. In this case, the High Court of Andhra Pradesh held that the maintenance to aged and infirm parents must only be provided if the parents have no means to sustain themselves or are unable to maintain themselves out of their own property or earnings. So we can infer that if the old parents have enough means to maintain themselves, the obligation of children to maintain them can be relaxed. So with this, I would like to thank you. Thanks to everyone for listening me and bearing me for this long duration. And thank you so much, ma'am, for giving me this opportunity.
Okay, thank you, Vivek. This is very good presentation or